In this segment, we're going to create a workflow. A workflow is used to direct an HR actions through the processes required to complete that action. It may involve notifications, approvals, or rejections, and perhaps updating data within the Workforce Go application. To begin, we're going to select the stacked menu icon, or burger icon, if you will, in the upper left corner. Once you click that, select Settings, then Global Setup, and then we're going to select the Workflow option there. Within the Workflow screen, you'll see existing workflows. Many come with the system and others may have been created for you. If you're creating a workflow that is close to one that already exists, you can use the Clone Workflow option here. This will allow you to make a copy of that workflow and then modify as needed. Maybe change the approval process or whatever you might need to do with that existing workflow and then save it as a new one. In this example, though, we're going to create a new one from scratch. So in the upper right corner, we're going to click on Add New. When we do that, we'll get the new workflow window pop up here, and then we need to tell the system what type of workflow type we're creating. If you select that drop down, the workflow type we're creating is an HR action request. So we'll select HR action request and then click on Add. Once we do that, we're in the new workflow window where we can provide a name and a description. I encourage you to provide a somewhat detailed description, as this will help anybody else who's working with workflows understand what exactly this workflow does. In the middle section, you can see here we've got start and end boxes. We need to tell the system how we want this process to start and then ultimately how it's going to end, but we need to configure every step in between there to tell it exactly what we need it to do. Who starts it, how it gets approved, what it updates, whatever we need that process to do. In this example, let's say we're going to create a workflow for a promotion. So our promotion may involve pay change, job title change, but we need to identify who needs to start that action, who needs to be notified, who needs to approve it, and what we want that process to do by the time we're done. So let's start by naming and providing a description for this. Let's go to the Start box, and if we click on the Start box, it opens up the Properties box for that Start step. You can see here we can again provide a name and a description for this Start box, and then we'll add an action here in just a minute. So let's start by naming. And then we can move down to the Add Action button in the bottom right corner. And if we do that, you can see what actions we have available for this start step. We only have on created because we're just beginning. So we're going to click on the flag for on created. And now you can see we've got an action down here that we can edit with the pencil. So what we want to do here is again name and describe and discuss the next step. So if I click on next step here, the only step I have is end because we haven't configured the steps in between here yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to name this. And we're going to save. Now you see you'll get this message, hey, you must add a next step for the on created, but we don't have that yet. So we're going to come back to this. So I'm going to go ahead and click save here. And that brings us back to our middle window. And you can see here we've got start promotion workflow, on created, start promotion. Now that we've got our start box started, we're going to add a step. So in the upper right corner here, if you click on the add step button, you can see the pop-up here for what steps we have available to add. And what we want to do is generate a notification to the individual that we're sending this action to for approval. So we're going to click on the Generate Notification flag, which will insert a box here. And this one came in behind my start box, but it may show up in different places. And then I'm going to click on the Generate Notification box to open the step properties for that step. And you can see here we've got our name, description, our from address. This would be the email address the email is coming from, typically a no reply at company.com address. The subject that explains what this message entails, and then the message where we can type in what we want. Hey, this action is being sent to you for your approval. Please look at your to-do list, approve, reject, whatever your message might be here. And then you can also embed data elements from the database in that message. So the employee involved, effective dates, that type information here. And then one last thing we'll do is send notification to, determine who we want this notification to go to. Maybe it's a manager, maybe it's a different role approver, a director, officer, whatever it might be. Or in this case, it might be a specific account. Maybe we want this to go to, the benefits administrator. All depends on the message and what we want that message to entail and who we want to get that. And then we'll talk about the workflow step actions. Okay, I went ahead and filled out most of these fields, but we'll walk through each of them individually. Again, we've got the name. I've got promotion request notification. I've got the same text for the description here, but you could be more detailed if you'd like. I've got the from email address, that no reply email address typically that we talked about. And then we've got the subject. And in my subject, I've got promotion request action submitted for your approval. But again, these are customizable. You make them say whatever you'd like. And then in the body, you can see here we've got the text that we want to be part of the message body. I've embedded the current date and time. And if you look over here in the search area, if you type in CURR, for instance, you'll get a list of fields that have CURR in them, or current information. Then you can embed those fields here. And then I just have a simple message here, a promotion request for HR Actions request employee full name. So if I wanted to look at the employee full name, EMPL, here are fields that have employee or EMPL in there. Has been submitted effective, and then the HR Action request effective date. Same type process over here. Please review your to-do list and review the request, and then thanks. So that's the message of the notification. And then I've got this send notification option here. And in this case, you can see I've got director selected. I've got director selected because I'm going to have the manager initiate this action typically, and then we want to route this notification and the approval request to that director. So I'm going to send the notification to the director. Now, if this was a workflow, or if this was an action that the employee was initiating, maybe we wanted the employee to initiate it and the approver or the recipient, the notification, to go to the manager. So you can get flexible with this depending on the workflow and your needs. You make it do whatever you need it to do. And then next step, we'll talk about adding the actions to this post notification. But I'm going to save this for now, and then you can see it updates our screen here. And what I can do next is now I can go into my start box, and if I look at my on created section here, again, if I click on the pencil to edit, now I've got a next step here where I can click on my next step is generate notification, and I can change the set status label to submitted. All right, and then when I save this, it updates that. My next step is shown here, and then I can save this, and now I've got a link between my start box and my generate notification box. Now that we've got our start box connected to step 2, or our generate notification box, we can add the next step. And we're going to do this one a little bit differently than we did the start box to the generate notification. I'm going to add the step first here, and again, click on the add step in the upper right corner. And what we're going to do here is initiate a step called approve or reject. We click that, and once again, mine hid behind my thing here. Drag it out here so it's kind of in flow with the actions. And what we want to do on this box is click this, and again, we're going to name, describe, and talk about who this is going to be completed by. In this case, we're looking for approve, reject. We're not going to auto approve, but we're going to give the options for the individual to review the action and then decide whether or not they want to approve or reject it. So what we're going to do is give it a name, and I'm just going to call this one promotion approve or reject step. I use the same description here. We're not going to auto approve. We don't want that. To be completed by, this is who we want to approve. So similar to our notification, in this situation, we want the director to approve that. Manager will initiate based on their employee. The director will approve that. And then what we need to do here is add actions based on what we want to do, whether they approve or reject. So if I add action here, I can say on approved, and then I'll add another one that's on rejected. So now I've got both options here, and then we'll begin to configure the on approved and on rejected actions, what we want to have occur there. Before I configure the on approved or on rejected, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to connect my generate notification to the approve. So if I go back in here and I scroll down to the add action, And I can click on Done because we're done with the notification process here. And I'll configure that by clicking on the pencil for that undone task. And I can say notification sent. And the next step for this will be the approve reject promotion. Click save, save again, and now the 3 boxes are connected. So now we can begin to configure this one. And we're going to have a similar setup here with the approve reject step to the step between that approve reject and the end statement here. So what we want to have happen here is we're going to add another step. Actually going to add 2. And we're going to do a generate notification up here. We're going to add one more, a generate notification down here. Now we're ready to configure our 2 new generate notification boxes. And if I click on the first one, we're going to make this one our approval notification. So I'm going to do a name here of notification of action approval. We'll use the same description. Use that no reply email address we talked about. And for the subject on this one, we're going to make the subject promotion request approved, and then we'll embed the employee's name in there, much like we did the embedded in the message on the initial notification. We're going to embed it in the subject on this one. Then we can configure the message, and again on this one, much like the other one, current date and time. Maybe we want some spaces here. Hi, in this case we've got the recipient name, so who we're sending the notification to, which in this case is going to be the initiator of the action or the requester. Your change job information for so-and-so has been approved, effective at, and thank you. And then send notification to, and in this case what we want to do is the request creator. This is the person who requested the change. We're going to send it back to them, letting them know that their action has been processed. Now on this one, because we're done, I mean we've approved it, we haven't connected everything yet, but on this one we can actually configure the next step. So we're going to click add action, and we're going to say undone for this notification. And down here when we configure this one, we can say end. And say end. Save and save. Now this one is done. And much like that one, we're going to generate this notification or update this generate notification with the same type information. So if we do this one, we're doing a notification of action rejection, name and description, our no reply from email address, subject promotion request rejected, employee name, message body, current date and time, hi recipient, sorry it's been rejected, and the request creator. And then we'll add that action for this step on done, update that action, and say end, and tie that to our end process here. Save and save. So we've got everything connected here except from our approve reject to the generate notifications based on how that occurs. So we're going to wrap that up now. If we go back into our approve reject action, look at our on approved, we're going to edit the on approved action down here. And we can change this and we'll say, hey, this is send notification of approval, same description. Next step here is going to be notification of action approval, set status to approved, set status label to approved. And we're going to apply changes here, meaning that since this is approved, the changes within that action, so default job, current pay, we're going to apply the changes that were submitted in that action and update the database. So we're going to check that box, and we're going to update checklist item if it was part of a checklist. May not be, but we'll update it anyway. And then we can click save. So we're going to generate that notification. Same type process on the on rejected. We're going to click the pencil to edit. We're going to give it a name, send notification of rejection for both. Next step is send generate notification of action rejected. This one is now rejected. Select the label. Save. So now we've got our process set. Okay, our workflow looks complete. We can spot check a couple things, but once we're set and everything's connected, so start, notify the approver, let them approve or reject, Based on their approval or rejection, they'll generate notifications to the requester saying, hey, it's been approved or it's been rejected. If approved, it's going to automatically update the system with the changes, and then on either one of these, it's going to end that process and complete. So we're going to save this, and success, we're good. And now we've got a new HR Actions workflow out there for promotion.